Arts and Commerce. Uh, Friends, as we know that NAC accreditation is made obligatory for all the higher learning education by 2020. NAC accreditation is mandatory for all the higher learning institution, particularly state universities. Without NAC accreditation, universities are not able to get the funds from UGC as well as state government like a RUSA grant and etc. On other hands, NAC accreditation determine the quality of institute in terms of education, infrastructure, research, teaching and learning, etc. So it is therefore unjust to figure out the institution's quality with single parameter. Distinct accreditation and their identify the quality in institution and to measure their potential. So NAC accreditation is one of the such criteria. So this is this one day webinar, national webinar on NAC criteria 1 and insight into the revised accreditation framework of NAC will give you a you can say a valuable guidance about how to go for a NAC as per the criteria 1, 2, 3, 5. We have kept a series of webinar. So this is our second webinar that is based on criteria 1. Even every week we are going to organize criteria wise webinar, which is very relevant for institution, especially higher education. So we have with us Dr. Deepak Nanavare sir. Before that, I would like to request Madam to say a few words about this webinar. Madam, over to you.
Yes, I'm very happy to welcome you all as an in-charge principal of KJ Somaiya College of Arts and Commerce. And I'm very happy that IQAC team is really working very hard and working with commitment. As you all know that this is the seminar, national webinar, we can say, organized under the Paramar scheme, that is of UGC. And I feel that our team really has worked on this Paramarsh. Paramarsh is, we can say, Avlokan. That is observing ourselves as an educational institution, that where we were, where we are, and where we wish to go on the journey of qualitative education. And we really are very happy that nearly 7 to 8 Mentee institutes are now attached with us. And we are amongst 5 educational institutions in Mumbai who are selected as mentor for under this scheme Paramarsh. Our team Paramarsh and our team IQAC is working, I can say from 1.5 year, they are working with all these mentee institutes, as I said. And really a very good bonding is created amongst all mentee institutes. I know today our mentee institutes and their representatives, the teachers have already joined this webinar, and as Dr. Mahendra said, that when the first uh, webinar under this series in last week was organized, we have really started a very good initiative. And I can say, as Dr. Mahendra said, yes, very relevant. It's very relevant. And the main concept behind Paramarsh is to grow together and really hand in hand all our mentee institutes, and of course, we all are growing together and helping each other to grow as an educational institution. Once again, I really welcome you all on this digital platform. And Dr. Nanavre sir, Dr. Deepak Nanavre sir is with us today. We are very happy, sir, that you are with us. And with you, we really will get good concepts how we should go ahead and how we should prepare ourselves as an educational institution to achieve new horizons. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. I once again congratulate our team, Dr. Satyavan Hanegave, our IQSC chairperson, and our whole team really who is working very hard with very much dedication towards this task which we have taken. Thank you, and once again I welcome all of you who are there today to attend this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your kind words. Now I would like to call Dr. Shubhangi Patil to introduce our today's guest.
Am I audible, Mahendra sir? Mahendra sir? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Deepak Nanavre. He is a professor of English, IQSC coordinator, and head of the Department of English at DAV Velankar College of Commerce, Solapur. Having a teaching experience of 22 years at UG and PG program, he has guided 7 students for PhD degree and has also examined several PhD theses as an external referee. He is a member of Board of Studies and also a member of many other statutory bodies at PAH Solapur University, private universities, and various autonomous institutes. He is a writer of 14 reference and textbooks. He has also delivered expert lectures at national and international seminars on English language and literature. He has also delivered various lectures as a resource person, almost 150 in almost 150 seminars, webinars, workshops, FDPs on NAC revised SSR and AQAR filing process, on new education policy and quality enhancement issues in higher educational institutes, organized by HRDC Pune and many other organizations. He has also conducted academic and administrative audit of affiliated colleges in Maharashtra and also in Karnataka states. He has guided colleges for preparing for NAC and NBA assessment and accreditation, and also conducted mock peer team visit for the institutes. Moreover, he is a content developer, translator, column writer for newspapers, and soft skill trainer. He is a recipient of 3 Best Teacher Awards by reputed organizations and a recognition as the teacher leader as the selected participant speaker of the first National Teacher Congress 2016 at MIT Pune. So with this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, for today's national webinar on NAC Criteria 1, and looking forward to you to enlighten us with your valuable knowledge on NAC and on the related criteria. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Kindly allow me to share my screen.
Yes, I made you a co-host. You can share your.
Okay, thank you. Hope, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. First of all, I must put on the record the warm welcome and a gesture of appreciation by the host institute, because having interaction with the team, KJ, is always a matter of jubilation and enthusiasm for every academician. For the purpose or for the reason is that a number of experimentation and the fundamental aspect of leadership is always being observed and percolated through the activities that are conducted on behalf of KJ Somaiya. So first of all, Honorable Dr. Veena Sanekar ma'am, Dr. Satyavan, who has been a very good friend of mine, simultaneously the instrumental man behind the show, Dr. Mahendra Mishra, Dr. Shubhangi, the participants, IQAC team of the different colleges. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be with you all. For the very noble cause, need of the day, or what do you call? What do you call? This is the time where there is a lot of scope for discussion, for not only discussion, but to act. So this is where we go. Whatever time I have been allotted for today, I'm going to be there for two criteria. One, today and next week, I'm going to deal with what you call jumbo criteria, almost carrying 35% of the weightage of total NAAC assessment and accreditation, that is AA process. Next week, we will be dealing with that particular jumbo criteria. But before that, just I'd like to bring to your notice that in these two criteria, that is criteria 1 and criteria 2, today we will be focusing on the very first criterion, that is curricular aspect, which is very core part of the assessment and accreditation. And as the title has rightly been given to me, that is an insight into revised accreditation framework of NAAC. Yes, all of you are aware, all of us are working, because I'm also working as a faculty in one of the institutes. There we face a lot of problems. There also, while actual in day-to-day interaction, we have at one side the pressure to complete our syllabus, simultaneously evaluate our papers, and most important aspect is that we cannot give away or we cannot neglect very important aspect of the NAAC assessment and accreditation. But believe me, after revised framework of NAAC came up, there was a lot of confusion among us, specifically among institutions and IQAC personnel, that something has become very difficult. No. Before I start with this particular criterion, I would like to make some introductory statements out of interaction with my interaction with different colleges, different policymakers, and whatever responses or whatever queries that I received, being an outsider of NAAC, but who is enthusiast in the assessment and accreditation process. Dear participant friends, one statement that I wanted to make, as I told you, that this new framework of NAAC is very user-friendly, and there is a lot of scope that we can proceed further with very good scope. I repeat, NAAC has made new process very simple, user-friendly. There is a clarity, and there is a what you call not only clarity, but a kind of openness. Because previously there was a silence, and silence was always golden. And the team used to evaluate. But now, during this hour, while we discuss criterion 1, I would like to bring to your notice that what we are going to do. What we propose to do in this particular criterion, I shall be dealing, first of all, I shall be taking overview of this particular criterion, that is curricular aspect, how many key indicators. There are two types of indicators now, all of us are well aware, that is qualitative indicators and quantitative indicators. Then how many qualitative, how many quantitative indicators are there? Then what are the say metrics? Then simultaneously how many metrics, and each and every question we are going to deal. And while I discuss aspect or insight related to that particular question or what you call metric, I would like to bring to your notice that I shall be taking note of the DVV sheets in terms of quantitative metric, DVV sheets provided by NAC, one, references of the institutions, those who have already been accredited with good score, and simultaneously, NAC has issued standard operating procedures, that is SOPs. So I shall be taking help of even standard operating procedures, and through those standard operating procedures, we will be rather coming out with the say concrete solution, because until and unless we get clear-cut idea, there is a least possibility that we may not be able to understand, we may not be able to go accordingly. There is some voice distraction, somebody has unmuted. My humble request from my side, that once we start, if you have any problem, feel free to drop your chat, because I have kept my chat box open. And simultaneously, if you have any problem, if you have query, for the connectivity purpose, I'm say closing my video, but with audio, I'm going to be with you all till the last question is answered. Okay, so you may drop your questions, relevant questions, related questions to the chat box. Okay, so wherever it is possible for me, I shall proceed further. So let us begin with the business. The very first criterion is entitled as curricular aspect. Remember, for UG Institute, I shall be talking with the approach or with the belief that all of you are affiliated colleges, because there are different manuals for say autonomous institutes, UG and PG affiliated and constituent colleges, and for even universities also. I am presenting myself with the help of, or with the belief that majority of you are IPSC personnel of UG or either UG and PG, or either UG or PG affiliated colleges. So for that, we have 100 marks weightage. Out of 1000 marks assessment, we have 100 marks weightage. And remember, next week, the criterion that we are going to deal with carries, single criterion will carry 350 marks. But although this criterion is of 100 marks, don't think that this is irrelevant, because each and every mark, each and every point scored is going to be valuable in terms of deciding or fixing our grade. So remember hereinafter that there are 4 key indicators. How many key indicators? 4 key indicators. Now in these 4 key indicators, admin, can you please mute others? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes. So in these 4 key indicators, there are total 11 metrics. And remember, out of these 11, qualitative metrics where we are supposed to answer that particular question in 500 words, there are 3 questions, that is metric. And out of 11, 8 are quantitative, where our data will be verified and validated by third party of agency of NAC, that is DVV agency. So we are going to take note of all the 11 questions, that is all the 11 metrics, one by one. So as I told you, that there are how many? Say 4 key indicators. These 4 key indicators are divided into different marks allotment. You can see on the screen, that is 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. 1.1 is related to our curricular planning and implementation. Remember, why curricular planning and implementation? All the questions answers of all the questions are there in the title itself, everywhere in the NAC, because this is highly what you call self-explanatory manual. Why? Because we are affiliated colleges. We are not responsible for designing the syllabus. University designs syllabus, University Board of Study designs the syllabus, and we are supposed to plan our curriculum and implement it. And on the basis of it, we will be adjudged for 20 marks. Then 1.2 is related to the academic flexibility. So what type of academic flexibility we are practicing at our institutional level will be adjusted for 30 marks. And 1.3 is curriculum enrichment. How do we enrich our curriculum and how do we practice it? So one by one, when question will appear on the screen, you will be able to look into the question and its connotation and denotation with very good what you call clarity and explanation. So 1.3 carries 30 marks weightage out of 100, and the last is feedback system, which carries 20 marks. So let us begin with the first question, that is 1.1. But before that, as I told you, there are two types of metric now. Qualitative metrics to evaluate or validate our claim. Qualitative metric will be validated on our campus by PhD. Previously, everything was being evaluated, examined by NAC team on the campus, but now only 30% of the weightage for qualitative metric in revised manual, and in quantitative metrics. In quantitative metric, we have more than 70% of the score will be validated by third-party agencies. They will not visit our campus, but our major score or the future of the grade will depend on the quantitative metric evaluation. And for this purpose, dear participants, I have intentionally put the word. And what is that word? The word is we need evidence. Whatever we claim in writing, if it is quantitative question to be filled in terms of number of activities or number of agencies, automatically we are expected, but naturally that we need to provide the evidence. And what type of evidence? I say it is satisfactory evidence. Second is how evidence is created. Evidence in the form of document. There are two terms. One is creating document, and second is retrieving it in the form of what you call documentation. And the process that we follow is going to be very important. So think of this particular criterion in terms of this particular criterion, but also in terms of remaining 6 criteria also. So the evidence is created through proper document. So when we discuss that particular metric, when we discuss that particular question, I'm going to deal with those aspects also, that which document do you expect it to be to maintain, to create, because there are two types of document we need to have. One, that document which is already ready. Do you just need to preserve that document? Suppose, for example, approval to your program, and you collect it from your office, and IQAC maintains that particular document. Number of students admitted for particular program during particular academic year. List of the student is naturally prepared by the office. You need to just maintain in your record, IQAC record. But there are certain documents that you need to create with the help of your policy and procedures of your institutes. What did I say? Policy and procedures of your institute. And remember, when certain question will appear, I'm going to come back to even policy and procedure, that how institution has to design some policy and procedure and how it has to be validated, because it is a part of your policy matter of your institution. So as I was telling you, that evidence, when we think of this particular evidence, we need to think that when document or evidence is created, look at any question from this particular point of view, in any metric or any key indicator. That is, when you think of document, you ask yourself before creating any paper, why am I creating this particular document? If I am creating this document, suppose I am organizing some guest lecture, that this document as a purpose to which, or as a support, or as a support, or what you call the proof of which activity. Then when was activity conducted, what was being conducted, then who is responsible for that document, or who was there to conduct this activity, and certainly how to create that particular document. The question rises that yes, we go on organizing number of activities, but when the process of data verification and validation begins, then there is a rumor, or what you call, there is a lot of what you call pressure in war room, that DVV partner go on querying number of documents, and then we go on running helter and skelter like anything, and the pressure is being created in NAC room like this. No college can excuse itself. Why? Because when we think of the pressures or the contradictions among, say, IQAC is one unit. IQAC members sometimes we make oral. What is the reason? Everybody is committed, but others fire on you, or others suspect. Look at the last point that I mentioned. Our loyalty, because we are in charge of certain activity, we are in charge of certain criterion, and our loyalty is questioned. Why? Because our source of document is questioned. How to submit document means how to create document of particular question, that is frequency. Then repetition. Sometimes we create document, but lot of unnecessary papers are there. And that's why documentation may become vague. Documentation might sound junk to your colleagues. And that's why there is always possibility that you might not have followed even time limit also. And there might be delay in retrieval of the documents. So to avoid all these problems or unnecessary situations, or what you call the negative situations, negative what you call instances or uncalled situations in the colleges, let us begin with the one by one metric. So as I told you that this particular 1.1, and now the metric is 1, that is question is 1. Remember, when you start writing your SSR, and hereinafter all of you are aware that NAC has made clear that previously AQAR was different. Every year at the end of after academic year, we used to fill in or submit AQRs. But now NAC has changed the process, because AQR was different and SSR was different. Now from academic year 2021, the NAC has say modified its process, that NAC has come up with new AQR, all of you know. And what is that new AQR? New AQR, in new AQR, all the questions are same as that of SSR, and your new AQR is nothing else but it is annual self-study report hereinafter to be filled into your portal. Previously, if you write some numbers, say 20 activities related to environment, we were not expected to submit proofs when we used to submit AQRs till academic year 1920. But hereinafter, whatever you claim, now in new AQR, which is annual SSR, we are expected to submit all records in the same way that we submit during submission of SSR. So now that makes our gravity more. Every year we need to create that record, because what happens is 4 years go on, and finally we go on collecting information. No, now every year we need to be proactive, because at the academic year we need to submit those documents, and there is a possibility that NAC may compile all our AQRs, and that is going to be our final SSR, which we are going to submit every year without any additional demand or documentation. There is possibility. Now, let us try to understand the insight, or take insight into or understand this particular question. In 1.1.1, that is 111, the question is, the institution ensures effective curriculum delivery through a well-planned and documented process. we are supposed to write answer in 500 words and provide documents in support. This question is meant for 10 marks. For 10 marks, what is expected? Now, as I made a statement earlier, we are affiliated colleges. We do not design our syllabus, but NAC has asked how effectively did we deliver the curriculum, and that too, how planned were we, and record how we have maintained its record. So to write this particular question satisfactorily, one, what is expected is, first of all of us know that curriculum, or what you call syllabus that we received from university, whenever syllabus is updated, colleges are communicated. Do not lose that document. Do not lose that document. All of us know, because in criterion 2, there is a question that the syllabus updating, then CBCS, and simultaneously number of programs, introduction of number of programs. So these questions are interlinked. So first of all, when syllabus is updated, whatever say letters or orders you receive, you must maintain. From university, letter comes to principal, then it is circulated to different head of the departments, and then it is being discussed in the departmental meeting. Now, suppose in academic year, whatever you are supposed to do, you plan it, and intentionally I have put it latter. This is most important part, is that you need to have academic calendar of every academic year. You may note down these points. First thing is that whatever is to be delivered, what type of, let it be curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular, include examination calendar also, because there is one more question that is going to come up. First of all, I need to focus on curricular aspects, simultaneously curriculum related aspects, and all the aspects that are being practiced for students and different stakeholders on the campus. So, all years academic calendars. Now, not only what we have observed is that institutes prepare academic calendar, but sometimes they go for reverse planning, because academic activities, many a times activities are not conducted according to academic calendar, and that's why there is a less possibility of what we call correlation of organization of activities. So first of all, include in academic calendar all academic related activities. Like what? Academic calendar say principal's address, induction program, along with induction program, sometimes you organize diagnostic test, then departmental level meeting, different types of say committee meetings, then internal assessment, then teaching, then tours, and everything. Whatever is being done, then different committee meetings, statutory and non-statutory. Then what does it come to? That in academic calendar, you have planning of curriculum and time-bound completion of syllabus. Academic calendar is very useful for that particular purpose. Then unit-wise, you divide syllabus. Every teacher, whoever is allotted that particular course is a paper or subject, we go on dividing month-wise, needs to be discussed, and integration of student-centric teaching learning methods. I'm going to tell you these basics, and then documents to be maintained, and who is responsible for document. Here, then date-wise planning of organization, date-wise planning to organization of curriculum-related activities like study tour, industrial visit, case studies, seminars, group discussions. These points needs to be there. These points need to be there in academic calendar. Then distribution of workload and student-centric activities, as I told you. Then completion of syllabus. Then student-centric activities as per academic calendar. Uniformly, this record should be maintained by principal, IQAC, HOD, teachers, and students. And these points must be discussed that how workload is distributed, how workload, what type of students to student-centric activities are conducted. It needs to be discussed in IQAC. It should be reflected in IQAC, that IQAC meetings, minutes, and simultaneously with principal and college development committee. So what documents you need to have? You need to have 3 types of documents. First of all, individual level is teacher document, second, departmental level documents, then third, institutional level documents. Now, institutional level, what can be the document? Institution appoints one committee for academic calendar. Institution appoints committee for preparing academic calendar and timetable.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Can I ask one question? I have one doubt, sir.
Let me complete this, or you can post it even in chat box. Then, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Post it in chat box. I shall be answering it. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Please mute. Okay. Institutional level, maintain academic calendar and timetable. Simultaneously, list of staff during that particular year and their appointment letters you need to have. Then internal examination dates and university examination dates. Then list of non-working days and simultaneously holidays. This is institutional level. But at departmental level, you have departmental timetable, annual departmental calendar, your work distribution paper-wise, that is course-wise. Then planning, if it is related to science, practical question, examination dates, result analysis. Then you provide additional resources, that is question bank, question papers, activity planning. You have remedial teaching. Yes, because this is effective curriculum delivery. That's why many departments go for remedial courses, planning, execution, and methodology. You have breach courses because induction programs and breach courses, they are simultaneously dealt. But as a part of effective curriculum delivery, you organize breach courses where you set tone rolling related to its content, then schedule, attendance of students, then material you discuss, what was the feedback of the student for your breach course, minimum 7 days, and its analysis, then your departmental SOC analysis, and most of the things, whatever material is created, what you call content, educational content is designed by your faculty, make a separate tab, that is you have LMS, that is learning management system, and through this learning management system you provide additional resources that yes, one question that has come up, that what is difference between syllabus and curriculum. I was about to tell you, syllabus is what is given to us by university through BOS, and whatever we plan to teach and discuss at our institutional level, that is nothing but curriculum. So my suggestion is that when you design your academic calendar and all these activities, all institutions are required to prepare their one policy for curriculum delivery. You can call it as policy and procedure for curriculum. Request to participant, please do not unmute, and please whatever questions are there, please put those questions in chat box. I shall respond to each and every question. Please, I'm getting distracted. Okay, so first of all, for this, addressing this particular question, design your curriculum policy and procedure. That how you are going to plan your curriculum, what are the modes of delivery, then who is responsible for what, and then what is going to be its effect. So while writing or while answering the question, you need to have at individual level documents also. What is it? Your teaching plan. Month-wise, I had told you that month-wise, how you are going to deal with the students, with which topics and what are the activities, and maintain record of each and every activity. For example, you are going to conduct group discussion in the class. If you are going to conduct group discussion in the class, go have its notice, take permission of HOD or principal, then communicate it through notice or your WhatsApp group, or display it on the what do you call LMS or your notice board. Then when results are declared, how do you communicate results? Then some assignments are given, how you give assignment. That's what I said. Your teaching plans, it mostly it is in your teacher's diary. So you need, when you claim teacher's diary or teaching plan, all those teaching plans are to be procured, to be maintained, and they must be countersigned by head of the department, your principal, and simultaneously finally by even IQAC coordinator. So I was mentioning that monthly teaching schedule, teacher's diary, individual workload, individual timetable, individual events are planned and executed. Suppose you are going for PPT, suppose you are going for some students presentations, suppose you are going for some kind of competition, make it a point that from taking permission of your principal, head of the department, till its feedback from the student and its analysis, everything is going to be measured or counted here, because committee is going to demand. Now, when you prepare policy, usually IQAC takes lead in designing policy and procedure. Like say, one I told you, that curriculum delivery policy, write it down, discuss it in IQAC, recommend it to college development committee or your syndicate or apex body, and then it becomes your binding. But it doesn't mean that once we form the policy, it may not be changed. It may be updated time and again. So all these things are going to be included in your answer, theoretical or broad or long answer of how many marks? 10 marks. Now, let me proceed further to 112. The question is, institution adheres to the academic calendar, including for the conduct of CIE, that is continuous internal evaluation. And we are supposed to again answer in 500 words, because this is a qualitative metric and it is meant for 5 marks. Believe me, if for second question also, I will strongly recommend, because throughout in all 7 criteria, you may have more than 15 to 20 policies and procedures designed at your institutional level, and they are practiced, because that becomes your mechanism. I repeat, those officially accepted policies and procedures are going to convert all your activities and procedures into mechanism, and that's what was meant or expected in the first question also. Now, before I discuss this particular question, now what is the question? That whatever examination calendar we had mentioned in academic calendar is being practiced, that we conduct examination according to the scheduled examinations in academic calendar. Now, I would like to link this question. You may note down 112 is linked with second question from second criterion, that is 254. 2.5.4. I shall be explaining that question later on, but in the next session. But till then, just remember this question is going to be linked over there, because that is deal with or that is related with what type of assessment, that is internal assessment. So how to address this particular question? When you prepare academic calendar, make it a point that you add your assessment calendar or examination calendar. 2 types of assessments are there. One is college internally conducts regular assessment, and secondly, the university level assessment. University level dates are not fixed, they may be revised, it is but natural, accepted. But whatever we plan, you may ask, sir, internally we conduct some examination. But here, continuous internal evaluation doesn't mean only written examination. Evaluation may be oral, evaluation may be any mode of assessment or evaluation. So one thing is most important is that you have your examination committee, internal examination committee over here. Internal committee committee meets and designs internal committee or modes of assessment, and then it is submitted to be added in the academic calendar. In some institutes, it is not separately done. Look at your convenience, but academic calendar should highlight, say, related to CIE, your schedule of examination, second assessment, results declared, that if you have conducted some internal test, when did you declare the result? So we communicate those marks internally. Say after some chapter, we go on or we conduct some test, but we orally inform mark instead of orally do it on paper. Okay, result declared, then handling examination grievances, what grievance policy you have, then awareness to students through orientation and induction programs. Then examination, as I mentioned, that examination committee and its planning and work, and weekly task completion as per session plan, and it is mentioned in the teacher diary and which is monitored by head of the department, then maybe faculty in charge or the principal, and it is discussed in IQAC. If there is any change, have you notified or did you notify it to student? So all such small records are going to be helpful to you. And as an additional information, what information NAAC expects to claim this answer? One, academic calendar, which year-wise academic calendar, which includes your examination calendar also. Then all your notices of internal examination, class examinations, then your results, whatever results you have communicated to students, whether you have uploaded it on your website also, you're making user friendly or making your website dynamic. Then sometimes you may be asked, or teachers may be asked their diaries, whether they have noted it everywhere, and it may be also uploaded to even SSR as a support. Then here, simultaneously, to claim highest mark in this particular question, whatever was written in the academic calendar, planned in academic calendar, you may cite 2 case studies that in academic calendar related to continuous internal evaluation. This was planned and this was how it was successfully completed. You can give briefly that 1 or 2 report of planning, that how examinations were conducted according to they were placed in the academic calendar. And here I would like to suggest one more policy, that is at institutional level, do not forget to write your examination or an evaluation policy. Why this examination and evaluation policy is useful? The importance is that in next criterion of 350 marks, there are questions for 30 marks, 15 plus 15, which I'm going to deal separately. Just I would like to mention that here 1, CO, PO, PSO are written and communicated for each and every paper, that is course. And second question for 15 marks is, institution has mechanism to measure outcomes of CO, PO and PSOs. So to measure our attainment level, we need to conduct or we need to plan internal assessment methods. And this is a separate part. So better you plan your examination calendar and implement accordingly, but make it a point that it is reflected in academic calendar so that you can show the proof. I would have discussed it at large, but time won't permit me. Next is teachers of the institution participate in the activities related to curriculum development and assessment of the affiliating university and are represented on the following academic bodies during last 5 years. Every year, make it a practice that every year before or at the end of every academic year, these types of documents are being collected by IQAC or by departments or whoever is responsible to conduct from each and every individual teacher, because finally you may not get it. What is being asked? That your full-time teacher, consider here only full-time teacher. Now, what is definition of full-time teacher? Again, I'm going to mention it in the next session, because NAAC has clarified full-time teacher may be appointed, maybe the teacher approved as a full-time teacher by the government in affiliated colleges, or the institute may appoint him as a full-time teacher or her full-time teacher if it is a self-finance course. But during that academic year he must be given minimum 90% of the workload of the total statutory workload of the full-time teacher, minimum 90% of workload. So here, just remember, here in whatever information you collect related to your teacher, college teacher, as a member of academic council or board of study, then question paper setter and assessment also, simultaneously design and development of curriculum, add-on or certificate or anything related to your university assessment and evaluation process of affiliated university. Here what we have observed is you need not do anything else, just year-wise, academic year-wise, prepare list of your full-time teachers, and in front of that you just go on marking whether they are member of academic council or not, and make it a point that you should have appointment letter of that on that particular body, statutory body of the university issued by the university. Okay. Secondly, do not add information of any teacher other than affiliating university, because I would like to show here what is that. See, this is the SOP. Intentionally, I am showing you one of the SOPs. This is not prepared by me, but NAC has made it clear to get maximum mark of 113 is that what are the documents needed? One, nomination, all nomination letters. Nomination letters from your university on all councils. Then letters from universities for assessment and paper setting. That's what I told you. Even university practical examinations are also Viva is also considered over here, but no letter of his or her participation on nomination on other any private university or other than affiliating university or any outside agency. Just here is that affiliating university. Okay, what we have found is that many colleges go on adding bulk with the participation of teachers with other university. No, NAC has strictly mentioned only affiliating university. So maintain document, marks are safe. Now 1-to-1. What is 1-to-1? Percentage of programs in which CBCS or elective course system has been implemented. Now we are affiliated colleges. University decides whether to go for CBCS or elective. Now, mostly in each and every institution, or you are affiliated to university. Okay, thank you for muting. Percentage of programs in which CBCS. Suppose CBCS. This is very simple question. Major marks, 10 marks are in hand. Don't get stressed. बिल्कुल बहुत easy marks हो गए. क्या करना है यहाँ पे? देखिए ये DVV शीट हमें भरना है. I am pointing out first of all program code. अगर program code कौन सा? Because university has given program code. अगर है तो ठीक है. Program का नाम. Program is a degree. हाँ. Suppose BA आता है. BA के कौन से year of introduction? When was it introduced? After introducing status of implementation of CBCS. अभी तक चल रहा है क्या? Yes. If it is yes, year of implementation of CBCS, CBCS or elective course system, and link to relevant document. Link to relevant document में क्या आएगा? आपको क्या document यहाँ पे देना है? Just I would like to mention one. Enlist all the programs, that is degree programs, that those are run by your institution. Take. Simultaneously, although they are self-financed, they are approved by your university. Then you have later issued. Okay, program code means, sir, program code is given by the university. Some code, so for example, BA like something, that is identification mark. University circulars जो है, just go through that. वहाँ पे program code university ही देती है. Many university, maximum university का भी program code है. Program मतलब degree code है वो. Okay, आपको कौन से, which letters you need to procure. For example, whatever programs you run, उनकी list. Simultaneously, when did university introduce CBCS और university का जो letter आया था, university का जो उनके meetings के minutes है, circular है और notification of university, that you need to maintain and highlight, and you need to submit it as the proof. Okay, और उसके साथ university also comes out with CBCS structure of that program. हमें कुछ करना नहीं, यहाँ पे सिर्फ है उस डॉक्यूमेंट को हमें हमारे हिसाब से, हमारे प्रोग्राम के हिसाब से we need to just maintain that record and submit it. I think 10 marks are very safe. Okay, safe. Let's proceed to the next question. What is the next question? Next question, I'm going to deal two questions simultaneously because these two questions are interlinked now. What are they? One is number of add-on or certificate programs offered during the last 5 years. Which courses are we talking about? Number of add-on or certificate programs offered during the last 5 years. 10 marks के लिए question है. This question is meant for 10 marks. And 1, 2, 3 is again quantitative question, where we are asked average percentage of students enrolled in certificate or add-on programs against total number of students during last 5 years. Okay, last 5 years. मतलब यहाँ पे one thing is clear that we need to go on giving what? We need to go on giving the information as it is given. Okay, so say here the status, whether suppose for example Rupa ma'am, you ask question, what is the difference between status and implementation? Suppose for example university has implemented, but what is its current status? Year of implementation also, and so whether sometimes there is a possibility that it may be discontinued. Okay, so status, whether it is being continued or not. Let's think of this particular question, that is these particular questions, that is 1, 2, 2 and 1, 2, 3, that is number of certificate. Try to understand concept of certificate and add-on programs. Certificate and add-on programs, they aim at imparting crucial job skills or vocational skills among the students, in addition to the programs or the syllabus, or in addition to the courses prescribed formally by the university. These courses we run at our institutional level with the permission of either UGC or university or our governing council. And through this course, add-on knowledge related to your curriculum, which is support to their job skill or employability skills. Okay, so my suggestion would be you can refer to different institutes, different types of courses they have introduced as add-on course and certificate programs. But my intention is to give you here that how or what type of record you need to maintain here, because these courses aim at enabling students to acquire additional certificate along with the degree certificate. Okay, so now here, what type of say DVV sheet you come across? First of all, see year 1 information, year 2 information, 3, 4, 5. Now same Excel sheet is going to be used for 2 questions, means 10 plus 10, 20 marks are based on filling in these 5 sheets. Single sheet, but 5 years data. What is being asked? 1, what is that add-on program or add-on course that you run or certificate program you run? Enlist one by one. Then whether you have given some code to it while those courses were sanctioned, or why university design. When did you start that add-on or certificate course? The number of times you offered that particular certificate course or add-on course, twice or once. What was the duration of the course? And believe me, maintain one thing, that minimum 30 hours your course should be reflected. How many hours did I say? Because I'm going to show you. NAAC has made it clear that that course should be of minimum 30 hours. How many students enrolled? This is going to answer 1, 2, 3. And number of students completing the course in the year, means sometimes students may enroll, but they may not complete. Now, to support this document, what are the documents you need to give? First of all, courses must be approved either by university, UGC, or your college development committee or governing council. 1. Secondly, your proposal should be there. That proposal must be submitted. That should show that you prepared proposal, it was submitted, that was being approved. You have approval letter. That number of regular programs of university accepted. Say no regular program means you cannot call it as a certificate or what you call add-on program if it is a degree program, regular degree program. Duration must be minimum 30 hours, but natural. As a support, suppose if I run some course, notices, permissions, notices, name of the program, when did we run that program, list of the students, certified list of the student with the signature of coordinator and principal of institution, then what was the curriculum that we taught, assessment, how did you evaluate students, and what was then proofs of papers evaluation. Then after completion of the program, you need to prepare the summary report of every program, and you submit it to principal that this is the outcome. And then sometimes many institutes go with brochures, then approvals, timetable, attendance list of the teachers who conducted program, their attendance, students examination record, then certificates. Remember that DVE agencies have asked for certificate scanned copy of some student who is enlisted or who's out of the list submitted by the institution. So then again, admission forms also, then fee records also, transaction to your institutional accounts. So remember, these documents are required to answer or address that particular question. There are so many things to be discussed, but I would like to just complete this criterion within time without stretching much. If there is anything, I'm going to give you our numbers also, and in future also we are going to meet. You are most welcome to get your query solved. Next is 131, which is qualitative question, which will be evaluated by the compete team will be visiting our campus. And the question is, institution integrates cross-cutting issues relevant to gender, environment, sustainability, human values, and professional ethics. How many into the curriculum, into our curriculum? What are they? One is, first point, that all subjects, remember, for example, I run BCom program. In BCom program, year 1, year 2, year 3. Every semester we have 6 papers. So in all that syllabus and all our activities related to syllabus, that curriculum that we implement, it is related to gender issues. Means some topics might be there. On that topic, you might have conducted some activity also. On that topic, you might have organized some competition also. Different type of, which units or which chapters carry gender related issue, environment related issues, sustainability related issues, and human values and professional ethics related issues. So first of all, as a documentary support, you need to have syllabus. So if it is a tenure of 5 years, at the end of 5 years, you need to have, wherever syllabus is revised, you need to have in your hand all the syllabus and distributed. All the units enlisted that in this particular, suppose I'm a teacher of English, then as a teacher of English, what are the topics were inducted by Board of Studies, and what were the activities conducted related to gender? But I must be able to give it with the proof of university circular or the syllabus sent by the university and activities conducted at institutional level. Then simultaneously, you need to have list of courses, description of syllabus, and then what are the cross-cutting issues. So as a policy matter, I would like to just mention one point over here, that wherever syllabus is being prescribed or revised, when new syllabus is being prescribed by the university or before implementation at institute, at departmental level at least, sit and accordingly discuss it. And as a proof, as I told you, that university syllabus plus all the activities, including your academic planning in academic calendar, needs to be submitted to the as the proof when you submitted your report. Now the next question, next metric is 132. Again, this is a quantitative. What is it? Quantitative metric. Now, quantitative metric and type of question. The question asked is by Deshpande ma'am is that yes, is that whether it is mandatory to seek approval from university to which the course is affiliated for the college to conduct add-on or certificate course as per program requirement of NAC. If you seek the permission, it will be the best. It will be the best. But simultaneously, when you go to the university, before that, take approval of your governing council or highest council according to Maharashtra Public University Act. Now in colleges, our college development committee. Okay, and then proceed to the university. Let us concentrate on this particular question. Average percentage of courses that include experiential learning through project work, field work, internship during last 5 years. So again, we are supposed to give data of all 5 years. What is the question? Here, course is a program. First of all, dear participants, do not get confused with the program and course. What is program? Program is a degree. Program is nothing else but attach it to degree. And course is a paper, because we have number of papers, it means we have number of courses. Okay, so go on or modifying definitions in terms of NAAC expectations. Okay, so if it is now certificate course, it has got different connotation. Okay, then it becomes your what you call minimum 30 hours certificate course. But course, if you take simply course, it means a paper which we teach in the class. Okay, so don't get confused. So coming back, here, average percentage of courses that include experiential learning. Now, experiential learning, by definition, if we try to explain, what is it? Experiential learning is nothing else but learning by doing, actual experience. Okay, which is done through project work, field work, internship. Now, what type of data is demanded in Excel sheet? This is the Excel sheet that we are supposed to fill in. One, name of the program, as like a degree. Again, code comes. Name of the course that include experiential learning through project work or field work or internship. Unfortunately, all our papers or all our courses, that is courses, are not equipped with these types of activities. Because here, one thing I would like to put on record, that NAAC in standard operating procedure has clearly mentioned that it must be mentioned in the syllabus or the curriculum prescribed by the university. Okay, so if it is not prescribed formally, no project is considered. This is the point that needs to be taken or considered seriously. Then course code, what is that paper code? Year of offering, when did you offer within these 5 years? That number of students studied that course. For example, let us say MBA program. If for MBA, you have one paper where you have either internship or field work, or even in sociology or even political science also these days, a number of practicals are being added formally by many universities. So list of the students certified by the principal, but this is not sufficient. We are demanded link of the relevant document. And what documents do we need? One, if it is project work, one permission letter that was issued by the college to go for the project. One. Secondly, his selection letter where in the company or in an establishment where he completed his project work. And after completion, he has certified that yes, he has satisfactorily completed his project, the certificate of the agency. Then in terms of field work also, all your documents must be there. And then report also. If you go to the field work, then report submitted to the institution. In terms of internship, same, prescribed by the affiliating university or affiliating university curriculum. Other than that, nothing. Then for that purpose, Board of Studies syllabus prescribed. Then in some universities, academic council also do communicate their approvals of these courses. And then only the courses having project work or field work, internship, as per the affiliating university curriculum, is only considered here, otherwise not. Okay, here for 133, as I told you, that the question is linked to previous question. In 132, we were asked for what? We were asked for the number of courses that have the project work, field work, and internship. But now 133 demands differently. what is the percentage of the students undertaking project, whatever courses, and that's why whatever information is provided in 132 should match with 133. Means there they had asked courses, here they have asked list of the student, but only list of the student is not sufficient as a proof. Believe me, question is for 10 marks. Data need not to be submitted for all the years. Data needs to be submitted only for latest completed academic year. This is rather solace. Suppose, for example, 1920 was our fifth year, and in the academic year 2021, I'm submitting my SSR. It means I shall be submitting this data related to only 1 year or of only 1 year, that is 2021. So mere list of the students certified by the principal is not sufficient. Then what documents are additionally required? One, list of the programs and number of students with list who undertook the or who have are undertaking project or field work or internship. Along with the list, mention program, name of the student, then what was the title of his project, or what was the title of internship, then their allotment, as I told you, different types of certificates, also completion certificate from that organization. If institution has conducted or institution has signed memorandum of understanding, that is also additional proof over here, and under that memorandum of understanding you are sending your students for this purpose to that establishment. Then reports of the field visit will be demanded, sample photographs of field visits will be demanded. Mostly when it comes to photograph, make it a habit hereinafter at least that you take geotag photograph. You will get information everywhere how to go for geotag photograph. Then what was the objective of field visit, what is the outcome which is mentioned in the report, and permission letters and completion certificates. So these are the documents that you need to claim these 10 marks. Now let us come to the last key indicator, that is 141, which is absolutely related to feedback. There are two questions, last two questions we are dealing with. The two questions, that is 141 and 142, which are separately meant for 10 marks. Now, the question is quantitative, which is going to be validated and given score by the third party. The question is, institution maintains feedback on the syllabus. Sorry, institution obtains feedback on the syllabus and its transaction at the institution from following stakeholders. We are given, previously there were 5 stakeholders, but now in new revised manual, we have only 4 stakeholders. One that was one is revised, that was parents feedback. Now feedback is expected from 4 stakeholders: 1 student, teachers, employers, and alumni. And feedback on what? Remember, there are 2 types of things that we are supposed to do. When it comes to next criterion, I'm going to talk of student satisfaction survey or general survey. In AQR, you have had done for AQR purpose also, because in AQR, NAAC has demanded survey in second criterion of AQR, old AQR. But in new AQR, we will have to go according to this manual. Now, see, student, teacher, employer, alumni, feedback on what? It is not a general survey. It is feedback on the syllabus, which is prescribed by university and its transaction at the institution from the stakeholder. So first of all, what is being expected? We have been given 5 options over here. Whether, first of all, if we do not take feedback every year or every semester, none of the above. Click on it. We are supposed to click on one, select one. Whether out of 4, 1 or 2 or 4 or all the above, means we take feedback of all stakeholders. Now, what are the documents required? First of all, we need to decide the questions that are going to be asked on the syllabus or syllabus related questions to be asked to different stakeholders. 1, they must be finalized. Secondly, we need to define our mechanism and simultaneously frequency. Feedback committee may be formed, feedback committee may implement it. Then how are we going to conduct that feedback? usually I would suggest whether you circulate it on paper or whether your institution has designed and developed some form electronically, digitally, and attached it to your website, or whether you practice it through LMS or third party. What I would suggest is that it would be better if you enclose or attach links of these feedbacks to website, so that your students become habitual or used to visit a institutional website. One. Secondly, institutional website. Second benefit is that when they are supposed to answer DVV process, before that DVV process, you have SSS, that is Student Satisfaction Survey, that becomes a practicing ground for NAAC Student Satisfaction Survey. So I would suggest, and that also gives authenticity to your survey. So now here, decide the frequency, whether you are going to conduct it semester wise or annually, and how and who is responsible for conducting that feedback related to syllabus. And that's why I would suggest you need to design your feedback policy and procedure at institutional level, read it, get it approved through principal by college development committee, and then you can have it as a part of mechanism, means it is part, and those whatever say after obtaining feedback, whatever you do here, question restrict only to obtaining feedback. Over. Yes, we do obtain feedback. What data required? One is that feedback on curriculum, your feedback sheet related to all the stakeholders. It may be semester wise, it may be year wise. Then you need to select and provide minimum 3 filled-in forms of each category. If it is digitally, you can take that screenshot, convert it into it can be procured in the form of PDF. Okay, then feedback analysis report with signature of principal, and better it is uploaded on institutional website, and you provide additional link in the form of the report, composite report. Then next 3 are related to the documents needed for securing marks for the next question. What is that? 142. Let me take you to that particular question first, and then we'll discuss that what are the documents required. Now the 10 marks question was only meant for what? 10 marks question was meant for only collection of the data from these 4 stakeholders. Here question is very easy. Again, for 10 marks, 5 options are given. One, if you say in 141 that feedback is not taken, here also feedback not taken. Okay, you lost 20 marks. Now feedback collected. What did you do? Only feedback collected or just maintained? Or you collected feedback and analyzed? You just went to the 3rd level, that is analysis level. Yes, we analyzed and it is uploaded on the institutional website. But feedback collected, analyzed, and action has been taken. Now action has been taken means what? Suppose students want XYZ, because there in feedback you might have given say 10 question, out of which 9 questions were say multiple choice question, and 1 question might be open-ended question, where students might have given their suggestions to add some other or practical oriented units in the syllabus, or other employers might have added, or other stakeholders might have added that particular question. So you collect that information, analyze that information, means analyze, and you take action on that. You prepare your report on that. Which topics are that, like say when, how, and through which medium, and for whom, what was the duration of this feedback, secondly, and simultaneously how many questions, what are the types of questions, approved by whom, simultaneously how many students are there in the college institute, and how many students have responded to the question, and what is it analysis question wise. And in open-ended question, you get answer that student suggestions are this, that in economics paper it would be better to add XYZ topic. So whose work is it? Action. What action have you taken? That you, through your college, you wrote to the Board of Studies of the university, giving information that the survey feedback was conducted and such stakeholder has given suggestion to include this particular unit in the syllabus of so and so. So this is the action taken. But last, that is major thing that you do is action taken. Action, you take action, and simultaneously feedback is available, or feedback analysis is available as one of the tabs on your institutional website. So if it is related to university, you have taken action by writing it to your university and getting stamped. And as a proof, you take, you consider, or you take in writing, or as a proof that when next syllabus was revised, that those topics are inducted or not. That would be an additional point. But if it is institutional related suggestion related to academics, what did you do? This also needs to be given as in the action taken. So here, upload stakeholders feedback report, as I told you, with the principal signature. You may take even IQAC coordinator signature, as well as the committee coordinator. Then action taken report of the institution on its stated minutes of the syndicate or board of management, or what we call college development committee. Feedback analysis, then action taken report, we have uploaded on your website, and we need to do not maintain it on Google Drive, because no third party retrieving platform is accepted by NAAC. So you need to present it on your website itself directly, and direct link of the website. Then one needs to be opt out. One needs to be opt out, and the action taken by university, as I told you, as a proof. Some question I'm getting, but yes. These questions are related to feedback, it seems. But one question is that Rupa ma'am has asked, can we get this PPT, or can PPT be shared? Rupa ma'am, one thing just I would like to mention, that this PPT is nothing like IPR from my side. So I shall convert it into PDF and send it to the organizers, coordinators, and through them, I will be more than happy to share this PPT to you. Okay, so this is what, in terms of 100 marks from my side related to the insight into the first criterion, that is curricular aspect. Over to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, dear participants, if you have any question, any query regarding the criteria 1, kindly feel free to ask to sir.
Yes, and if not here, they may. I have given my email ID and my numbers also. They may text me. Yes, they may text me, and I have tried to be. Self-explanatory, and simultaneously, whatever questions were there, I have tried to clear my questions in my capacity. So this was what from my side, sir.
So I assume that there are no query, as this entire session was very informative and crystal clear.
There are either possibilities,
So,
ma'am.
with this assumption,
there might be.
No.
There are either possibilities.
Surely, no, sure. So surely not, because I can see the chats. No, sir. So I can see the chats, and people are very happy with this session. They are very clear. Whatever doubts they had, whatever confusion they had about it by you, very well. So with this, I on behalf of IQAC of KG Sonia College of Arts and
Ma'am,
I extend my sincere thanks to today's resource Dr.
Yeah, ma'am,
for his insightful session. No doubt, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Can I ask my doubt?
If you have a doubt, you can ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Yes, please go ahead.
Really, I like your lecture. You gave very informative content to us. Thank you, sir. So thanks. But sir, I have confused with the add-on. What is the basic difference add-on course and value-added course?
Yes, sir. Value addition is related to values related to your academics or general value. Okay.
Okay.
But basically, there is a frenzy line difference that if you intentional, actually, I did not show. I had created one link also. If you can see, what I will do is, because I was given time, in my presentation, you will get link of one or two colleges, which I did not open. There they have, these institutions have differentiated some some courses as value-added courses related to the topic which is not there in the syllabus, but which we think that it must be added or it must be given additionally to the student, which is not there in the formal syllabus. Okay, and these certificate courses are basically related to what we call as a employability, or what we call the skill-based courses. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any more question?
Any other doubt, dear participants? Any other query?
I think there is no more question, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. So I once again thank you, sir, for such a valuable session on criteria 1. This session was really helpful. Will be very helpful for all the participants. It will help them to enhance quality of the institutes. I'm also grateful to our management for providing us with infrastructure to conduct such webinars in such a pandemic situation. We are thankful to Provost of Somya Vidya Vihar, Professor Rajashekharan Pillai, for his support throughout the year. No program can be successful without the guidance of a good leader. And we are very fortunate to have Dr. Veena Sanekar, Madam, as our head of the institution. With her kind words, she has always guided us. She has always encouraged us to conduct such activities. And of course, I'm also grateful on behalf of the entire IQC team to Dr. Satyavan Hanegave, sir, for showing trust on us. And thank you, sir, for guiding us throughout the year on the small and the on administrative part of the conduct of the activity. Last but not the least, I'm thankful to all the IQC team members, my dear colleagues, and all the dear participants for your active participation in the session. I'm once again Mahendra, sir. Any announcement
Yes.
to be done? Any
Yes,
announcement to be
madam.
done?
Yes.
Regarding, yes, kindly fill the feedback form. The link has been sent just now to you in the chat box. So kindly fill the feedback form. It is very essential. As you realized just now in today, one session also, that feedback and documents are very essential for the NAC. So please kindly fill the feedback form.
Yes, and the request from my side, do share feedback to me also, so that I can also update.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
because there is always scope for improvement.
Yes, sure.
Sure, sir.
Mahendra, sir, shall we end the meet now, or do you?
Yes, ma'am. For resource person, yes, but we have to wait 5 minutes because just now we have shared that feedback, so we need to take that feedback. Okay, for sir, and thank you very much, sir. Dear participant, please fill this feedback form. It's very important to get e-certificate.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir, please again share that link, please.
Okay, Chaitali, please share that link again. Yeah,
Thank you.
sir, it is there. Please give your feedback because it's very good. It is required for your e-certificate plus our session. Yes, sir. Those who have attended last session will they will receive a certificate in this week, sir. Don't worry about that last webinar certificate. We will send to your email IDs.